I'm going to call Eugenie Sage.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Pleased to take a short call on the review of the appropriations in the primary sector. And I think the speech we heard from the Minister summed up the government's arrogance, its lack of understanding of the fact that when rain falls on the land and drains into rivers, that sustains life. Rivers are not to be captured always for irrigation. The fact that the Minister was claiming that irrigation and big storage schemes are good for the environment shows how little understanding he and this national government have about what rivers are really important for sustaining life, for sustaining a lot of our Indigenous plants and wildlife, for their recreational values. We cannot exist without water. This government wants to direct it into big irrigation schemes, and that's what I'd like to talk about this afternoon in terms of the Irrigation Acceleration Fund, which is a major part of MPI's promotion of more intensive agriculture. Because this government has helped create the perfect storm that we're now experiencing in terms of dairying. Because with funding for things like the Irrigation Acceleration Fund, the handouts that it and the Crown Irrigation Investment Company give to irrigation, they have encouraged this very high input, high cost model which has high environmental impacts. It relies on imported feed like PKE and very high levels of debt. So when you've had the change in the dairy supply payouts, that's helped create the perfect storm. So this government under MPI, through the major investment in the Irrigation Acceleration Fund, 35 million over 5 years, with another 25 million pumped in the last year's budget to be spent from 2016. This government is making it very easy for these think big storage projects to go ahead. And to date, we've had that fund spend 27 million in handouts to 18 irrigation projects. We've had 6.5 million go to Ruataniwha, 8.7 million go to Central Plains, 7.6 million go to Hunter Downs, and another 1.8 million go to Hurunui. Even one of those grants exceeds the amount that MPI allocates for sustainable farming through its Sustainable Farming Fund. It just shows the government's priorities. Give big handouts to irrigators and agribusiness, and yet only provide, in 2015, $7 million for the Sustainable Farming Fund. It just shows how little weight the government gives to sustainability, and that is despite one of MPI's stated outcomes being to increase sustainable resource use. The focus seems to be more on increasing resource use rather than being to improve sustainability. And what we've seen with this whole growth in irrigation and intensive agriculture has been a disaster for our rivers, our streams and our aquifers, and that's what National is failing to take into account. We want to have a reputation overseas for producing safe food that people can trust because it comes from a clean and healthy environment. Yet the government, with its very weak standards on regulation of land and water use, its very permissive national policy statement on fresh water, and these big handouts to think big irrigation projects like Ruataniwha, Central Plains, is meaning that it's encouraging more intensive agriculture, more water pollution. In Canterbury, where a lot of this has happened and where a lot of these irrigation grants have gone, we have got the Medical Officer of Health warning midwives to warn pregnant mothers to ensure that if they're having bottle-fed babies, that they don't take the water for that infant formula from their local bores, because nitrate levels exceed the World Health Organisation standards. And nitrate, Mr Chair, is not like E. coli. You can't boil the water to get rid of it. It's there permanently. And it's not scaremongering, Minister. The Environment Canterbury's monitoring of water supply bores is showing an increasing spike in nitrate levels which exceed the World Health Organisation standards. The Medical Officer of Health has warned midwives. The government is in denial about the impacts on our human health and the environmental health by its policies through MPI's handouts to irrigation that is having. So, Mr Chair, this fund, the Irrigation Acceleration Fund, isn't about promoting sustainable land and water use. It's all about allowing agribusiness to capture those benefits.
The Honourable Joe Goodwin.